Today's session's hopefully interesting. It should be pretty cool. You've got two very different people here hosting this show. So you've got an extremely technical person in Daniel, and he'll do his introduction in a second. And then you've got myself, and I'm an outbound lead generation specialist. So again, I'll do a little bit of an introduction. The session today is 90 minutes. It's a pretty light session in that there's content and then a lot of conversation. There's a lot of smart people here today, a lot of people that know a lot and will have questions. So the idea is to work our way through the content. There is a lot of change going on in the world at the moment, as we all know, within marketing and lead generation, and there's not a definitive answer to the way ahead. So these conversations should get you thinking, get you stimulated, and that's the purpose of it. So I'm going to hand you over to Daniel. He's going to introduce himself, and then I'll introduce myself, and then we'll get going.
Thanks, Fraser, for the introduction. Very happy to do this again with you. So the topic of today is why marketing is the real revenue driver, and it is. So very short introduction about myself. So I've been for 15 plus years in marketing. I used to have my own digital marketing agency where I already worked together with Fraser. I exited that. I've been a global marketing partnership director for one of the most successful unicorns in Southeast Asia. So we did about $300 million revenue, 30 million profitability. Now I'm a fractional, so I work fractional CMO. I recently finished last week my fractional job at Osam. So it's incorporation and accounting software like a Xero, competitor of a Xero. I work very closely together with Fraser, and we love to talk about lead gen. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I also hold sessions at Executive Global Network, like we did this morning, also talking about lead gen, and some of you attended that are online currently. So great to see all of you. Some of the clients I've worked past years, so from manufacturing to consumer goods, fintech, insurance, tech, government. I'm sure many of these are well-known logos, and they all face challenges in lead gen. So you're not the only one. Many people face challenge in lead gen, whether that is B2B or B2C or sometimes even B2G. So happy to talk more about this later. And now over to you, Fraser. So Fraser and I know each other already for a long time. I think back 12 years ago when I came to Singapore, I met Fraser and I was directly very impressed about how he does his sales. Very different. He's very outspoken. He also tells that salespeople need to adapt. And he's one of the salespeople that is on the good side of marketing. And he's constantly trying to change things in a positive way for sales, and really an innovator at heart. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and over to you, Fraser.
Oh, excellent. You could keep sharing, that's fine. Yeah. So, look, I know a lot of you, or I know at least half of you. I'm a specialist in outbound lead generation. That's our sort of area. So how do you create human interaction with your contact base and with the new base that you're bringing in? Yeah. So whereas Daniel's very technical, sitting at that sort of top of the funnel piece, and also the other bit as well, he understands it deeply, but he is sitting in that top of the funnel piece. Look, if you've got a contact, what are you doing with it? What's that human engagement? My biggest success, and I'm still a bit shocked about it today, to be honest with you, was growing. One of our clients grew from 3 to 7 billion in 4 years. And that came back to a contact nurture model. It was very simplistic. It was very straightforward. It was about human on human relationships. And I don't believe that my personal belief, and as you'll see today, is that is actually the future. So AI will help facilitate that. But if you don't get that bit right, you're going to die. So we, as Daniel said, I've got strong opinions. I think we should be client centric. I think we should care about the clients. I think we should understand the client's journey. I think that salespeople are in general, and there are a lot of exceptions, but are broken as a general rule. But I also think the marketing relationship with sales is broken. That is automatically going to fix itself over the next 2 to 3 years. Because it has to. Yeah, there's no choice in that. Sales has to do what they need to do in marketing, and sales need to collaborate more effectively together. So, Daniel, I'll hand it back to you, and we can get going from there. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So thank you, Fraser. So what I'm going to talk about today, and like many, many great brands Fraser has worked with too. So if you have any questions about what we did for those brands, feel free to let us know. So first I want to define the essentials, right? What has been happening and what is currently happening. Um, I think most people know this story, and I will keep it very short. But some companies are still stuck at the traditional marketing plus web, right? Maybe some very traditional B2B companies, they're still stuck with a bit of web, radio, outdoor, newspaper, etc. But I think where the biggest change has come, and it's still coming from that side, right, is basically the web-centric marketing. And I would say after 2018, it's moving to AI-centric marketing, right? So we see basically SEO, PPC, meaning Google ads, YouTube ads, LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook ads has all been changing rapidly. The mobile is really changing things, and now this is all interacting, right? All these businesses are now one of the largest businesses in the world, right? Um, so we see web-centric marketing is where I would say the push and pull marketing is where most companies are currently. But what I think as especially has been developing very fast from 2018 onwards is also AI, right? So AI is not something new. So Google already since 2012, because I used to be one of the partner agencies for Google Southeast Asia. So we got a lot of insights from Google when we're selling Google products, is that Google in 2012 was already had models on machine learning, what can give you the best ads copy, where can you get the best results, and so on. So this is not something new, but what is something new is that actually this 60% that I'm showing, 60% of all the B2B buyers, are already through their buying cycle when they approach vendors and solution providers. And with AI, this will only get further and further, right? So your digital presence, where you're being active, what people read about you, will only be shorter and shorter, especially with the AI snippets that you see when you use Google search or when you go into any of the LMMs. This is really changing things, right? So you need to adapt to this. And I think Fraser has a short session about this later. And if you have any questions related to this, happy to answer it. But this is super, super important. You have to keep this in mind. And that comes next, right? The B2B buying journey is getting more complex than ever. And we have to keep in mind, how can we simplify that for our potential customers, right? If we can make it easier for them, the buying cycle will be shorter, which means faster deal closed, faster money made. And at the same time, many of the businesses are still thinking a bit traditional, right? So they think, okay, marketing is a sort of some kind of a support function, or marketing should generate leads, MQLs, right? We're being measured by MQLs and clicks, which is okay. Nowadays, we should be driving it to SQL, right? And it operates separately, right? So you have marketing, maybe you have sales slash BD, and you have customer success. And it all operates in silos, which I think is really a problem. But what is the new business reality, right? What is the new business reality also with AI is that actually marketing is the primary force for company growth, right? If you let salespeople do the bottom-up approach, it doesn't really work. It's very expensive, and your growth will be slow, right? And marketing is now a strategic driver. It's not a supporting player. It should be directly accountable for measuring revenue, at least pipeline. And especially in the APAC region, right? Leading in mobile first and AI adoption, right? So this is showing a very clear path where we're heading in the next few years. So very, very briefly, okay, so what does it mean, right, in the B2B lead generation flowchart? So we do the lead acquisition, we do the lead nurturing, we do the marketing qualified leads, and then we do sales transfer, right? That's where usually the SDRs come in, the sales development reps, and then we focus on sales qualification, conversion, and customer retention. Okay, this is traditionally the flow chart that marketing and sales more in SMB as well as in a more enterprise way we're focusing on. But how can we work on this actually effectively together? Um, that is actually what we want to talk about, right? We actually want to be focused on how can we drive all the way pipeline to SQLs, right? So I took this great part where I talk about the 6 stages of a B2B sales funnel, right? So we have the awareness, and anywhere where you see SEO in here, it also means AI, right? It also means optimizing for LMMs, which you can do with tools like Ahrefs or other tools out there, right? So awareness, interest, consideration, intent, evaluation, purchase, right? And this is all the parts that marketing has to do all the way till the deal is closed and then make sure the onboarding goes smooth. Marketing should be in charge of this. And why it should be in charge? Because we will make sure that in the end you're really driving that revenue, you're really driving those leads, right? So that is super important. And also keep in mind that this should be a unified growth driver in outbound action. So, like Fraser is saying, um, sales and marketing are like brother and sister. You fight, you do love each other, but sometimes there are good times, there are bad times. But in the end, you need to work on this together, right? You need to together. You need to identify who do you want to talk to. You need to build a list, right? You need to start a conversation like a human, right? We're selling to humans. Although we got AI nowadays, we still need to sell things like to humans, right? Move the conversation to your turf, right? Close it and then follow up, right? So these basic actions we still have to do in our marketing and sales. So what is interesting, what I shared, right? The 6 stages that we creating valuable content marketing, leverage social media comes back. And all of these things are also important to basically create the strategic partnerships, right? That is very important. So if you don't get your marketing materials right, if you don't do the right reach out, uh, for instance via LinkedIn, or for some of you for cold calling, you can't establish those strategic partnerships, right? So you definitely need to amplify your digital marketing effort. Like I was saying here, right? When we unify our growth in outbound marketing, we basically see great results. And later on, I will show a case study of a European B2B company. But I want to make it very practical, right? Because marketing is usually, we need to get into the needy, greedy details. Um, so I want to show you how you can do unified outbound action, right? So you can do lead sourcing. So you have this tool called Lucia, but there are a few other tools out there that you can use. I will share it on the next page. But the goal is to build a targeted list of potential prospects. So you define the ICP, you use Lucia or other search, you pull this data, you verify the email and phone numbers, you enrich it and you clean this data, and then you add it to HubSpot or Salesforce, right? And then you use LinkedIn or Sales Navigator, you do the reach out, seniority, decision making, you engage softly, you send personalized connection requests. LinkedIn still works, guys. It still works well. And then, of course, once the connection is accepted, you send the intro message, then you try to get the email, you ask for the email, and then you can get the first email usually of a value, then a case study, a proof, then a soft call to action, a meeting or webinar or a roundtable, those kind of things, right? And try always to do the multi-channel follow-up. So you alternate between LinkedIn messages and email, and sometimes you can even add personal WhatsApp in if that person is over to talk, right? Um, so once you got the email, make sure you upload it into HubSpot, right? So the goal is to organize and track all this engagement, right? Because the moment it's in your CRM, it can't be forgotten for the company. If this is an individual sales rep or a salesperson or marketing person and that person leaves the company, then you got a big problem, right? Because once it's not in your CRM, it doesn't count, right? And then point five is of course, you can add on the lead scoring. It's quite straightforward. For instance, with HubSpot, you identify which leads are most likely to convert, and then you add a point system to it, right? Email opened, click, book the meeting, this viewed, that viewed, and then you set a threshold. And You review this daily or weekly in HubSpot. You make sure it's band qualified, and then you add them on. This tends to work quite well. These are some of the tools that you can use: Lucia, Clearbit, Outreach, Apollo, Gong.io. They all do quite similar things, but this is something that you can keep in mind. Like I said, this is something that most B2B companies can easily implement, not rocket science. Fraser has done this often for some of the companies I've worked with, so this tends to work very well. So let me show you a case study where this was very successful. So this is a case study about a European B2B brand. So they had low inbound traffic, low brand awareness, right? So this is, when you have low inbound traffic and low brand awareness, you really have a problem, right? Because it's impacting your sales on the long term and on the short term. That's basically the worst out there. So they had limited leads from its three targeted countries, so Singapore, Malaysia, and Australia. And also had low MQLs, right? Impacting the SQLs and also impacting the business performance. So I got called in for this company by the MD to help his head of sales and his head of marketing to basically make sure that they reach target within 6 to 9 months. Um, so what we did, we basically understand the customer journey, the buying process. So we improve SEO, content, and outreach LinkedIn, right? So usually any content that you have, you also need to amplify it, and that can be done by a Google, LinkedIn, or whatever ads that reach your audience, right? So you increase the traffic back to the website, and then usually you try to combine it either with webinars or in real life events, and then the sales team can also connect with them. So this is all enterprise focused. And we see then usually over time we get a better conversion rate on the website. And also for any B2B solution out there, it is still very important that you have country specific websites. So if you are active in Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, Scotland, UK, whatever you call it, you need to have localized landing pages, but also localized websites. The better you do this, uh, Google will index this better, right? Because they will always prefer localized pages compared to global pages. So if you get the opportunity to localize this, do it. You will see a massive difference. This takes a bit time for indexing, usually 2 to 4 months. But if that's done, you will see a big increase in traffic. So what they saw, right? Last 6 months, last 12 months, that they had bad numbers. It was no good, guys. It was really no good. And then the next 6 months, basically, they upped their numbers quite a fair bit. And this is a software company, right? So big deal sizes, but there's a lot of growth. And then, funny enough, by June, they reached their target already. So everybody was very happy. This was my client for 4+ years. So very happy working with them. But this is one of the great experience if marketing and sales, outbound lead gen, everybody works together successfully. You optimize well, you put the right pieces in place. In 6 months, you can really deliver already great success.
My view on lead generation is slightly different to the majority of companies and the majority of marketing and sales, in that I think we have to look after our base of contacts. Our base is where the revenue is. Yeah. So you've got your top of funnel, it's coming in, but on top of that, you've got your base contacts that we meet, and we should be strategically nurturing them for 10 years. So we're playing the long game here. Unfortunately, we tend to be measured by ROI, and the ROI is pretty short term, 3 months, 6 months, a year. On a campaign, it's even quicker. But these campaigns can produce, and they can produce 2 years, 3 years, 4 years later if that content's nurtured the right way. And we'll talk about this after I'm finished presenting on this. But if we take a look at this, like the bottom line is AI marketing is sort of the theme of what's going on in the world at the moment. And yes, it potentially is a problem. At the moment, it's not. At the moment, it hasn't sorted itself out. It could easily be another year, 2 years, and it might actually not make a dent in anything SEO might carry on. I mean, who knows? But we should be trying to adapt, taking advantage of it, and so on and so forth. So the following presentation sort of covers that. Now, there's a basic axiom in marketing that 3% of people are active buyers. So that's 3 in 100. There's not much, right? 7% know they have an issue but aren't looking, and 30% have a problem that you could solve but aren't aware. And for various reasons, 60% of people will never buy you. And I'm not going to have a discussion about that. This is a principle rather than a fact. Yeah. So we want to be thinking, well, everybody's fighting over this 3%, but what about the other 37%? These are the right people in the right organizations that at some point over the next 5 years are going to have a need for your product. So personally, I don't mind. You can talk to me whenever you want to talk to me. I met a guy yesterday in Singapore from Australia who'd been watching content of mine since before COVID that I'd never interacted with. I hadn't had a conversation with him, lovely chap. And we had a lovely coffee in Singapore when he was visiting from Australia. And so these things happen, right? Time is your friend, even though it's not how you tend to measure yourself. So how do you make this work? The sort of three core parts: getting yourself set up, optimizing what you've got, and again using AI, and then managing it on an ongoing basis. So I don't know if you heard of GEO before, but generative engine optimization is the thing that's coming. This is the language of AI optimization. I mean, there's this is what they say it's going to be. So it's about using generative AI to get your content out there. Yeah. So and that's a different topic, and it's something I know nothing about. So I'm not even professing that. What I do know about though is if I've interacted with someone and I've had a human interaction with them, that nurture model as it moves forward has to be very, very well structured. And if you take the time to do that properly, you're going to find that you make a lot of money from that, a lot. So you're going to have two channels. You're going to have the marketing thing with your normal model, and then you're going to have this piece that rotates around your existing database of contacts. So optimizing lead gen, AI doesn't engage with the 37% because it's not proactive. AI at the moment is not actively going out there and interacting. It's a place that the 3% go to ask questions. I've got a problem. How do I do this? I need to get a website. Where do I get it from? So actually what's working is coming back to simple lead generation, right? So we've got networking, events, cold calling, groups that own closed database, partners, centers of influence, existing clients, chambers. These are not going to change. This is an amazing thing. So it's part of your marketing strategy. It has to be in there now, and it hasn't been there for 20 years. We've salespeople are notoriously order takers and notoriously not doing outbound lead generation. I mean, my experiences in sales, they're not building their profiles the right way on LinkedIn. They're not presenting knowledge the right way. They're not sharing content because they're being driven by short-term transactional behaviors. Whereas really as an organization, we should be doing that, I agree, but also doing the other, which is interacting over time. Yeah. So, and these channels are AI proof. You get that, right? If you get that right, then there's nothing, there's only you that's going to, you're the quality of what you do that's going to make the difference. So but you should be measuring certain things. What is the volume of leads coming from these other sources? What is the quality? What is the conversion to meetings? What is the conversion to revenue? What is my ongoing nurture model with this base of contacts that are coming in and are already within my business? Yeah. So what's that? What's the quality of the relationship? How do I know it's not just an email nurtured relationship that no one's actually physically had a conversation with them for 3 years? And I need to understand that. That's going to be important. And again, AI is going to allow you to do that. AI is going to facilitate that. Technology is going to already doing that. We were talking about Gong there, and other platforms are going to help and support you on this. Moving forward, though, you need a content plan. You need to be creating content. If you're not creating content, if you're not building assets, if you've not got a nurture plan, if sales and marketing are not accountable, if you're not having these real human engagements with people, then you're missing the point. So the money's there, right? There isn't a shortcut, and there never has been a shortcut. If you nurture your base of contacts with real human relationships, you will be in front of your competitors and other companies. So it's I sort of try and get this point across. If I meet you on LinkedIn and maybe we have a couple of messages, it's very different if we've had a 15-minute face-to-face call or I met you at a networking event. It's different, right? The opportunity post that to maintain that relationship is strong if you have a strategy and a plan to do that. And you have a window. If I will say to people, if you meet someone at a networking event and you haven't interacted with them in 48 hours, they've forgotten who you are. Yeah. So you need to interact, start a conversation with. So, as an example, I meet someone at the FinTech Festival. We talk about the heat in Singapore. And I might say, hey, it's lovely meeting you. We really enjoyed the chat. How did you cope with the heat at the end of the day? Yeah? So they will remember that conversation at that point, and that starts the human dialogue. Yeah? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to stay front of mind with that type of methodology. The key, though, is the categorization. Again, I have a different take on this. I'm not a fan of SQLs. I'm not a fan of MQLs, but then I'm not a marketing person. So what I'm interested in is the right person in the right company that falls into that 40%. So could they buy from me? Is there a strong possibility that I can interact with them over the next 5 years? I'm grading them A, which is high value, high potential, mid value, mid potential, low value, low potential. So if someone's low value, high potential, or low value, high mid potential, I'd move them into group B and I'd nurture that relationship on that basis. Yeah. So everybody needs a category because as you move forward with your contacts, you are going to invest time with them. Yeah. So you're with your A contacts, for me, I'll meet them every 3 months. I'll have a coffee, I'll have lunch. Maybe there's 50 people there that are my A, maybe slightly more that I'm nurturing and I'm physically meeting them. I'm jumping on a Zoom call with them. I'm sharing some information with them. And our view of my A contacts is I want to interact with them every 2 weeks. Yeah. So now that might be subtle. That might be an invite to a webinar. That might be quick WhatsApp message saying hello. It might be a coffee. It might be I'm going to be in your area. Do you want to get lunch? Or it might be, hey, are you going to the FinTech Festival? So all of these are touch points, and they're all relevant. But with my A's, I'm very fastidious with it. With the B's, it's a softer touch point. It might be every 6 months. It might be every year. And then the C's, we're just running webinars, email campaigns, giving them access to assets, that they can use that don't cost us human time. Yeah. So so that sort of leads me into that asset creation thing. Yeah. So AI lets you build assets in a way that we've never been able to do it before. It's nuts, right? I love video, right? I've always liked video. The biggest problem with video is editing, right? It's an absolute nightmare. Right? Editing a video has always been a pain in the ass. Now I've got a piece of tech. I just chuck this webinar in, and it cuts it all out for me, and then it cuts the ums and ahs out and makes it easy. And then I can take that, and then I can put the content into ChatGPT, and I can say, write me a post. Then I humanize it. I rewrite the post. I don't use the ChatGPT post. I make it mine. Yeah, right. And that's the secret here. Is there's a blend of AI technology, and you have to humanize it. You can tell when it's written by a bot. A bot cannot. It's very difficult for it to be first person, yeah, right, and tell a story and create a narrative around something. Yeah. So you've got video, you've got editing. You can build courses so easily. You can have your AI course that teaches. We have a course on first meetings, discovery meetings, proposal meetings. It's an asset. I give it to the client. It's free for everyone. Yeah. So you can train your salespeople. You think of it. Yeah, you can train them whenever you want. You don't have to pay for it. There's no sign up fee. There never will be. It's an asset you can use. That builds the relationship with me. Every week, every 2 weeks, we run a course on coaching, yeah, right? Salespeople. We run a coaching session. Will does it. Yeah, so he's here somewhere. And we are there to help clients do what they do. It doesn't take huge amounts of time, but it creates that link with the clients. We need to track and manage our salespeople. Any salesperson that says, I'm doing my own thing, you cannot have that, right? That's not the way it works anymore. There's a job there. We paid a salary to do it. We need to do that job properly as salespeople. And I'm a salesperson as well. If I my EA today was nagging me saying, "You haven't given me my notes from the meetings from yesterday." Yeah, so we need to be putting notes into the CRM from every single meeting that we have. We need to map our bases. It's much easier now. We can research on people. It takes like 30 seconds to do a bit of research on an individual, a company, and an industry. We can interact, we can track and manage what's going on. We can manage the data and we can see what's working, what's not working. And one of the things that I think is going to be very important, you need your own AI platform. For us, we will have a coaching tool that coaches salespeople. It will sit outside ChatGPT, so you can only access it through 1,000 steps, but it's not going to cost anything. But you can access it, and it will help you coach your teams and so on and so forth. So it's interesting. It's exciting. We could never do that before. I could never. It wasn't possible. Now we can do that. You can build quizzes. So many things you can do that make you different and get you engaged. And the really interesting thing is people won't do this. So if you do it, you'll stand out. Okay. So what now? First of all, you need to map your lead management. You need to map your database. Again, I've been doing this for, I think, 12 years now, and then before that, I was in financial services. I haven't met a company with a clean database yet. Okay, where are my contacts? Who owns the relationship? When was the last time I met them? Are they ABC? Are they a client? Are they a vendor? Are they, this base needs to be mapped so it's clean. And then a strategy needs to be built around interacting with your ABC contacts. You need to create content that's relevant. You cannot just be saying, "Oh, we're an amazing company," or "We've launched this product," or that's all you centric. You need to be engaging with the marketplace with some of that, some human stuff, some video, and your salespeople need to be standing out as subject matter experts. The people don't want to deal with sales. It's really interesting. If you put sales in your LinkedIn profile, I get it. I'm not saying don't do it, but if you put sales there, your acceptance rate of connections will drop by half. Because people don't want to deal with annoying salespeople. They want to deal with people that are knowledgeable, and they'll look at your profile and they'll say, "What are you posting? What are you creating?" You need to set KPIs for both marketing and for sales, and they have to work together. As a senior management, if your salespeople are not working with marketing, marketing's not working with sales, that needs to be fixed. And there's no negotiation. It needs to be fixed. If it doesn't work, something needs to give. Yeah. And then you need to execute the model for 6 months and then completely assess, rebuild it, and then go again. This is changing so quickly, and quite often the challenge with marketing is it's slow, so it's laborious. They have a way of doing it, and they want to keep doing it that way because they know that it works. But we now are in a world where we have to test stuff, we have to try things, we have to redo the world as we know it here, right? As a really good example, polished videos do not sit well anymore. People want raw content where it's real, where the person's sharing deep insights and experience, and it's not pretty, right? They don't want this polished thing and blah, 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 and the fake voice. They want real people, real content. They want to be learning. Webinars, no one's coming to edutainment webinars. People want to come and learn. If you're going to take 90 minutes of your time, I want to walk away with something. I want to change how I work. Yeah. So it is changing. There is an accountability there. At some point, CEOs, investors, directors, the board are going to realize that there's another way to do this, and we're all going to be accountable to that standard as we move forward. And that is a year, 2 years away. As the quality of data comes in, as more data comes in, it will become very obvious where the gaps are. Yeah. But saying that, it's very easy to change. It's not difficult. I'm a small business, maybe 60 people, and it's been very easy to adapt, and we keep tweaking and adjusting, and we're building our content teams, and it's not hard, right? And it's not hard to get this right, and you can experiment with it till you find the right model. But it's there to be taken. So Daniel, that's me finished. I'm going to stop sharing now, and then if we can, you all connected with us, so you can connect with both Daniel and I, would be great. So that's us today, and I look forward to seeing you the next session. Any questions, please reach out. Yeah, so that's what we're here for.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Ciao,
Thank
ciao.
you.